Yeah, you can see that the lot of green came into the SPY after it was kind of pointing to the downside there all pre-market, and hopefully that momentum can keep up and we can go up and break up above 448. Or I just hope the momentum keeps down to the downside. I'm really hoping that we don't see another up and down type of day. I really hope that the market picks a solid direction and just chooses one way or the other, so it makes it easy for us. But man, I'm really looking for that 448 level to be broken today to the upside. And I don't know. I feel like it could happen with the way the market's popping, but we could definitely see a possible rejection there too.
Do this. All right, so yeah, really what we're just looking for is a movement to the upside or the downside. Over like the past couple days, we really just saw a lot of chop. So, really we're just looking for movement either up or down. I know that I had some audio issues a couple minutes ago, but it should be fixed now. And one thing I was saying before is that the market was selling off a little bit in pre-market, and we saw a nice pop up, like Tom said. Retail sales came in better than expected. The market was expecting a 0.8% decline, and we actually had a 0.7% increase. So that's that. And I want to thank everyone for joining today's stream. Welcome Alex, Mike, Keisha, Jamie, Raphael, Maine, Hunter, Vicky, the other Alex, Mac. And so thank you guys so much for joining today. Tom, do you have any specific stocks on your radar?
One that I'm really been honestly eyeing up this morning was Clover. They actually had a great pre-market and they were popping up right around that $8 support. But now right at open, we did see some red come back into the stock. But man, the pre-market was pretty good, and I'll definitely be eyeing them up for another pop later on. I know that they were doing very well a couple weeks ago, ran all the way up above $10, up to like 11 or 12, and then now they pulled all the way back down to that $8 support. I'll definitely be eyeing them up though. That $8 support's been really strong.
How about this movement on Palantir, Tom? Look at this. It's breaking out and it looks great.
There we go, up above 2750. I'm so glad to see this one, Mike. We've been waiting for it for a long time. I know Hunter's really been waiting for it. And man, I'm so glad to finally see the breakout above 2750. We've been rejected there so many times. And I feel like that this could make for a pretty significant move over the next few days, especially right now. We're already up to 2760. And man, I don't know how high we're going to be able to get today, but I really hope that this one keeps running.
Yeah, it looks great. Tons of momentum. And like you said, Hunter's been waiting for that one. So there we go. Welcome Bill, Sean, Kumar, and Jorge to the stream. Jorge mentioned LCID. So Lucid, they're also looking great, Tom. Look at 5% on the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I cannot believe Lucid is bouncing like this. They've been bouncing pretty well ever since they had that drastic drop to the downside. They got their dip bought right back up, and man, they're up above $20 again. Honestly, I think this is a good long-term pickup. I think it'll be pretty good for the longer term. In the shorter term, anything can happen, but man, Lucid's a pretty interesting company, and these EV stocks, you would think they would do pretty well over the next few years.
Yeah, for sure. And then another stock I wanted to look at real quick was Boeing. I really like this one for the long term. And, even if the market does tank down, Boeing's at a pretty good level right now. And, technically speaking, Boeing actually has a slight negative correlation to the market over the past year.
Yeah, it does. And that's actually a pretty interesting statistic to hear because a lot of times in the past, Boeing used to go up with the market. So that's really strange. But man, make them break out above 216. I'm seeing a really good channel right between 210 and 216. And it looks like we're getting right to the upper edge of that. And who knows, maybe we'll see another breakout today.
Here we go. Alrighty, so guys, let us know what stocks you're watching, and we'll definitely take a look at them. Just looking at a quick little look at my watch list, Tom. Actually, most of the stocks are red today. So, the stock that's actually doing the worst is BLNK. They're down almost 3%. NEO is getting smacked around as well, down 2%. Zoom's continuing to fall. On the upside, though, Palantir and I guess you could say the cruise lines are looking pretty decent to start the day.
Yeah, the cruise lines are coming back. Yeah, that's nice to see. CCL's kind of popping up there. What about NCLH? Yeah, NCLH popping up off of that like 2480 support there. Honestly, not looking too bad from NCLH and the cruise lines, Mike. You're right. That looks like a pretty good setup here. And look on the daily. This is a very strange type of consolidation area right by like $25. It's really been up and down for like the past few weeks. So definitely look for another move one way or the other. And I would definitely swing more towards the upside with these cruise lines. And, they're like right at support too. So like it's good for shares. Like, where there's a lot of opportunities right now with like CRSR, CHPT, NCLH, like a lot of these stocks are down here like right at support.
Yeah, for sure. And then how about like these poor hotel stocks like LVS? Like they're still falling quite a bit. And if you look at LVS's implied volatility, this thing is going through the roof.
Yeah, look at that. That's really turning to the upside. And it almost is like, it's kind of moving like it was moving back during the COVID crash. And man, it's not looking good for these stocks. I know that Chinese regulations really hurt them. And, they had even worse moves in pre-market that the daily charts weren't even showing. So good thing it's not posting as $35 as the low on the daily. It'd be even worse. But wow, I mean, this is just such a bad move down. And I don't know, lots of people are talking about buying shares down here, Mike. And I would definitely look at averaging in down here, but I don't think I'd go all in right now.
All right, and then, so let's see, we have Maine saying RSI possible buy from Fanatics. So let's see, RSI, how's it looking? It's up like 7%. It's actually not looking bad.
Yeah, I figured you were actually talking about the indicator for a second. I didn't even think that this was an actual stock, but this is awesome movement back to the upside. And if they're starting to work with Fanatics, that could be a pretty good deal. I know Fanatics is huge.
Alrighty, and then let's see. So IRNT, I know that one had a ton of hype yesterday, and it was running up so much in pre-market and after hours. How's it looking right now?
Look at that pre-market run all the way up to that $60 resistance level, got pushed right back down. Honestly, right now it's looking pretty bad. It's just selling off pretty drastically. But like you said, that after hours and pre-market was amazing. I mean, we closed yesterday right around like $32, ran all the way up to 60. That's almost a 100% gain in pre-market and after hours. That's absolutely crazy. We are pulling back now though. So I don't know. It's going to be really hard to play this one today, I think, especially with that huge move. I personally feel like it might keep going down.
Gotcha. Alrighty. And then we have Hunter saying, my scanners are dead. Nothing interesting on them. Hey, sometimes it happens, but, I feel like we're going to start to see a lot of big plays sometime soon. The market really hasn't been moving too much, like over the past 2 days especially. So, we're definitely ready for a big move. And then we have Ironical saying, Kathy Wood sold many Tesla shares. So I was actually looking into that. And while she did, like headlines were saying, all right, Kathy Wood sold, $100 million worth of Tesla. The thing is I think that represents like literally 0.2% of her entire Tesla holdings. So I just want to double check that real quick. So yeah, I mean, technically she is selling some Tesla shares, but she has a lot. She has so many where it's like negligible how much she sold.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the main thing is that it's such a little amount. And while it might be a big amount for Tesla's stock, which it really isn't because of how much money's traded through this stock, like, man, I mean, there's so much money in Tesla's stock that it's just like, look at the volume today, 15 million volume on a stock that costs $750. Like, I mean, you're talking about a lot of money going into Tesla. So, there's definitely that type of movement there. And I don't know. I think it's pretty smart to sell it out here, Mike. I mean, we're right around that, $780 to $800 resistance again. We've been bouncing off this trend line to the downside. And I don't know. I mean, do you think she made a mistake? Cause like, it just seems like the wrong time. Like, I might've just waited for Tesla to dip back down towards maybe like, 750 or something like that. I don't know. It's just a very weird sell by her, I feel like, up here at the top, but at least she's doing it by resistance, which is good.
I mean, like, another thing to keep in mind is, like, she has so many Tesla shares, and, like, even though, like, I think she may have sold, like, 100 million worth of shares, or it was a lot of money, but it was just such a small percentage of what she has, so it doesn't really, like, matter too much, but keep in mind that she has to, actively manage that ETF. So, let's say she sees stocks that are at great price points right now, and she wants to buy the dip on those, then it could be beneficial to sell her Tesla shares. So, for example, let's just say, for random example, she loves the setup on, let's say, RUN right now, right? The stock is at a big support and she wants to buy in. If she needs needs capital to buy that dip, she might sell some of Tesla shares. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense, Mike. I'm glad you brought that up because during that scenario, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like she could totally be doing that. And obviously, she's going to be using that money for something. So I'm with you. That's probably what she's doing. She's probably looking at a bunch of these because there's a lot of stocks like this. It's not just RUN. Like we've been talking about them for the past few days ourselves. We have like CRSR down here. We have CHPT. There's this BLNK. I mean, there's a lot of stocks falling down by their supports right now. And it's just, I feel like that a lot of these stocks aren't bad either. Like these are pretty good hype stocks and they're going to be pretty good for the future. So I don't know. And she runs all these innovation ETFs and all these stocks are like really innovative stocks. So I don't know. I feel like that's probably what she's doing, Mike.
Yeah, and then Vicky said would sell shares to balance her portfolio. Tesla went up and may have surpassed the limit. So yeah, I mean that's a great point. She always has to constantly rebalance her portfolio, and we all know stock prices are always changing. So it's just a necessary thing to do when stocks move. So good info there, Vicky. Then we have Alex saying, can you take a look at Snow? It's wildly fell down to 216 yesterday and then came back with the market to 223. It seems to still be holding a short-term uptrend. So let's take a look. I mean, yeah, it's been all over the place. The good news is that it's holding its ground even with the market going all over the place, which is really good actually. Like the market has seen a bunch of buying pressure and selling pressure over like the past 3 weeks, and this stock has done nothing but basically go straight up. So that's good. It's just like at a point for me where one, it's at a major resistance right now, like right around 325 you can say, and then two, it's just like it's been trending for like over a month now where it's not really a play to like the upside or the downside for me. Now it could definitely be a play for you. It's just I don't see like any great opportunity to the upside or the downside with it, at least for right now.
Yeah, and if it does break out, then it could be, I think, decent to the upside for me. But it's just right now, like Mike said, it's just consolidating on this resistance. And it's probably going to have a lot of up and down type of movement right here. You can see how we even had a weird day where we came down, touched $300, and then came right back up. So I think we're just going to see a lot of volatility with it. Lots of up and down movement right at the resistance until it gets broken to the upside. So for me, it's just almost like a waiting game until we break.
All right, and then we have Spacely in all caps saying, good morning, let's go. So thanks so much for joining, Spacely. Jorge and G mentioned Clove. So let's take a look at this one, Tom. It's finally popping.
Yeah, it is. I know they had a great pre-market, and right at open, that red momentum came back in, but I'm so glad to see it go back up. We got to $8.08 this morning in pre-market, which was right around that $8 support. We ended up popping right up off of that. And we are hitting off the $8.60 resistance, moving back down now intraday. But man, Clover had a great pop. I'm glad to see it. We had a great week, a great couple weeks ago where we ran from $9 all the way up to $11, straight back down though. And I really hope that we can get another pop back because we were really eyeing this one up off of $8. And I know a lot of people were really looking at shares on it. So I really hope it starts to go up in the longer term.
All right, and G said Clove Smooth Brain Ape is breathing heavy. Hopefully the trend continues with Clove. I mean, it's just been getting smacked every single day, and I want to see a retest of like 11.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And you know what I did, Mike? I actually just looked up how much shares Kathy Wood has of Tesla, and just in the ARKK fund, she has a $2 billion market valuation on her Tesla shares. She has 2.9 million shares of Tesla. That's insane.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. Definitely a big position there. And yeah, it's interesting. But I'm doing a quick scan right now. Still more red than green, but Palantir is still holding strong. Boeing's kind of selling off a little bit. Facebook is selling off. They're down around 0.7% today. Yeah, definitely take a look at Facebook, Tom. What do you think of this setup?
Yeah, I think it's been looking, hang on, I just went right after Tesla, but I think it's been looking pretty good for a pullback. I know like last week on the daily chart, it was really consolidating up here at the top around that 385 level. And it looks like that we are getting that type of downwards movement here. And I would expect maybe a good move back down to this 360 support. I could see it. And to me, it just really looks like Tesla's starting to slide off. We have the market going down. some of these bigger tech stocks have had a pretty bad past couple days, and I could just see them continuing to sell off for maybe for the rest of today. Like I said, maybe back down to that 370 or 368 support.
Good stuff. Alrighty, and then another one is actually Tesla, which is continuing down. They're down almost 1% on the day. It's nothing crazy, but it's definitely notable.
Yeah, it's just a scary thing to see. If we see these stocks start to turn back over like we saw a couple weeks ago, like if Tesla gets back towards that $700 support again, that would be a pretty scary drop. And we fell from 740 down to 708 the other day, so it could definitely have a good move if the market decides to sell off. So definitely watch it. And with Kathy selling her shares, I mean, like I just said before, she holds $2.2 billion worth of Tesla in the ARKK fund alone. So, that $200 million of shares isn't really much, but in the end, I mean, it could definitely drop Tesla, and that could definitely bring some negative selling pressure into the market.
Gotcha. So taking a look at like the SPY and the QQQ overall, there's definitely negative, or I guess you could just say selling pressure coming in. Right at open, more and more sellers are coming in. It seems like every time that the market tries to run up, it gets rejected. And I know that it had a nice rally yesterday, which was great. But you look at like maybe like a 5-day, 5-minute chart of the SPY, and for the most part, every time it tries to run up, it gets rejected. And, you could even see yesterday, it had a nice run up, but the breakout got rejected again, right at 378.
Yeah, it did. What? I thought you were on the SPY, Mike.
Yeah, on the SPY, 37. Oh my, oops, I was looking at the QQQ. My bad, but same setup. Instead of, it's 448.
Oh, I gotcha. So yeah, 448. Yep, right to the downside. Hit that big resistance, and yeah, you're right. The QQQ has the same exact setup. Looks like it hit off that resistance at 378, right back down. And it's just a bad situation. The whole market's just kind of sliding off. And like you said, every time we get a nice move up, it seems like we just hit resistance and then just start sliding off the next day, or just, as soon as like we hit that resistance. It's just a really weird situation. And if we look at like the 90-day, 15-minute chart, you can seriously see every time like there's a pop, I'll just draw it out. We had a pop here from Sunday heading into Monday morning, huge drop at open. On Monday, huge move in pre-market, and then right at open, big drop again. And then same thing the next day, slight move up in pre-market, huge move down at open. And today, again, another red day at open. I mean, it's been happening every single day, and definitely keep that on the back of your mind. It's going to be really scary, but it creates some good opportunities in the morning. Like if you could somehow get into these puts very quickly and notice this downtrend, you could catch some really good moves.
Absolutely. And then we have Sean saying, can Donkey Horse hold 810? How's it looking, Tom? Workhorse.
Yeah, WKHS. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would hope it can hold this level. It's been really rough lately. It had that bad pre-market move a few days ago, down to $7.40. And it's been selling off on the daily pretty bad. I'm glad it's down there by that like $7 support. So I really hope that it ends up holding that over the next few months. But as of right now, it just seems like it's continuing to just sell off. But I would really look for that $7 support. It seems like that's what we're heading down to.
All right, and then what do you think of NEO at these levels right now? They've been struggling a lot, or they've actually just been, flat since, I guess you could say like February or March. So what are you thinking like with NEO at these levels?
It does worry me. We're breaking some technicals. We broke the 100 SMA to the downside, and we even confirmed off of it on the daily, which, normally if we just move below it, I wouldn't really worry too much. But once we like confirm off of it, it's a little bit of a scary situation there. I really hope that this support around $30 can hold up for NEO over the next few months. I have a weird feeling that NEO will end up breaking this 35 support to the downside, and we will end up going down for a little bit. If that does happen, I'm really hoping the $30 support holds up. But I really like NEO at these levels for the long term comparative to their all-time highs. I'm really just worried about the overall market sentiment right now. And I would really hope, though, the NEO can, like I said, hold these levels and then start to go back up. Personally, for me, I think it's a good time to start averaging in. If you buy some shares now around 37 and then NEO falls down to down to 30 and you average in there, your average price is going to be somewhere around like 33, to 34. So it's going to be a pretty good price for you for the long term there.
Alrighty. Good stuff there. And then, Tom, like, what are you thinking of Apple right now?
I think Apple looks pretty I don't know. I think yesterday I was really thinking it looked good for a pop back to the upside. It looked like it bounced off support pretty well, but as we've been seeing, whenever the market gets those green days, the selling pressure comes right back in, and we just failed to break out of that 149 resistance. It almost looks like the SPY today, like it just hit that resistance and it's starting to just come right back down now. And it's not down to the lows of yesterday, but it's definitely pulling back a little bit today. I would say I'm more bearish on it than I am bullish. Like I said, yesterday's setup was pretty good. And if we would have broken out up above 149 today, I think it would have been a great move up. But as we can see now, the selling pressure is starting to really come into Apple, and it's starting to really break to the downside, kind of like the S&P 500.
Good stuff. So it looks great. Apple's tanking, like you said. Facebook's tanking. Palantir is breaking out. I really love the way Palantir is moving right now. We have Nye and Jorge mentioning how it just broke 28. That is a pretty big resistance, and it had highs of like 28.10. So it's looking pretty great. This breakout looks awesome, and like the next like major resistance I see is like right around like $30 or so. So I think it'd be pretty awesome if we could even touch $30 like anytime in the next like 2 weeks or so.
I think that would be awesome too, especially with the overall market going down. That would give us a really cool stock to trade for the next, like maybe for the next week. It'll have a lot of up and down movement. Palantir is definitely a fun stock, and I'm really glad to see it breaking out. Like you said, there's not much resistance all the way up to 30. So definitely eye this one out, guys. I feel like this could be a pretty good play. We're finally breaking resistance. The green momentum is kind of coming back in. And, even if we end up consolidating here back down to 2750, I feel like there's a great chance for this one to continue up tomorrow too. I mean, there's a lot of momentum out of Palantir right now.
Alrighty, and then it looks like Beyond Meat is continuing to fall. I've actually been eyeing some short puts on this one. Not that it's my favorite stock in the world, but I feel like, it's getting at like a pretty decent level where maybe I'd want to grab some shares. I'm kind of on the fence about it, and I didn't actually sell any puts yet, but, looking at the stock, it's, been channeling over the past couple years between like $100 and I guess you could say like 175, and it looks like we're getting to a pretty big support.
Yeah, it does. I mean, eventually, like we might bounce right off that $100 support. It's definitely a big psychological level too. So eye it up, and I think Beyond Meat might do pretty good for the long term. I know that a lot of people are, against the fake meat and everything, and personally, like I don't like it, but maybe for the future it could be a pretty good thing. We'll just have to see how it ends up going. I know it's a lot bigger in places like China and different countries, so definitely eye that up too. I feel like it could be a good stock for the long term. And like Mike said, shorting puts could be a really good way to go as we're nearing that $100 support. The chances of this stock falling back down to like $50 or something, I think is pretty low.
All right, and then we have Maine saying, any idea what's going on with TMC up with no news? So I'm looking right now, and I'm also not seeing any news. The implied volatility is popping off. Tons of volume is coming in. This could be like a hype play from Wall Street Bets. I didn't look at it too much, but that's really the only thing I could think of to see it running like this with no news.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy, actually. This is a lot of up and down movement. Like, look at this 15-minute chart over the past few days. I mean, this is some crazy movement, and I don't know what's causing this movement at all, but good call. I'm glad you called this out. I looked up what the company is. It says that it says they were formerly called Deep Green Metals. They're a Canadian mining startup founded in 2011, and they're focused on deep sea mining of seafloor polymetallic nodules, which is sounds pretty advanced there. So I don't know. It sounds like a pretty interesting stock, but definitely lots of up and down movement, Mike. Pretty crazy. It's just with the way it moves, it's just not the stock for me.
Gotcha. All right. And then we have Jorge saying CHPT is dropping to test support at $20 again. So, Tom, this one's been, at support for what seems like ever now. What are you thinking with this one?
Yeah, it's so hard to say with CHPT. It's getting really close again to $20. And I don't know. It's scary. It feels like it might break it this time. It's bounced off of it like 5 other times in the past. And I really hope that it holds up because I like CHPT for the long term, but we're just continuing to see this selling pressure. And I don't know. It's really hard. Like if we see some reports come out that Kathy Wood started buying the dip on like CHPT, BLNK, plug, and, stuff like that, then I think we could see some pretty good moves back to the upside. But man, I really hope that the next couple days go well for this because if we start to break pretty well below 20, I have a bad feeling for CHPT in the short term, but I still like them for the long term given what they do. But I don't know, Mike, it's getting really scary. I really hope that they bounce. It's really hard to say, I would say it's 50-50 right now.
All right, and then Maine said RSI is running nicely. Yeah, it's up like 8.5%. Looks pretty good. The IV's popping, so good stuff there. Tom, so like when we started the day, I think I had like maybe like 15 stocks that were green on my watch list. Now I only have 3, and one of them is UPS, which is only up by 0.03%. So it looks like we're starting to see some increased selling pressure as the day goes on. Okay, yeah, now I only have 2 green stocks, which is DAL and Palantir. Everything else is red. BLNK's tanking, Neo, Redfin, AMD, everything's tanking, Tom.
Wow, yeah, it really is. My watch list is for the majority red too. And, I have a few stocks that are kind of green, but, these stocks are pretty crazy. Like I have Moderna, Palantir, Clover. You know what is green, Mike, today actually is some of the banks, surprisingly or not.
Huh.
JP Morgan somehow actually popped up this morning. I don't know what happened. They're selling off now, of course, with the SPY, but early on, man, JP Morgan had a pretty good run. So did Bank of America. You can see BAC had a nice pop up. What about Wells Fargo? Even Wells Fargo broke that $47 resistance this morning for a little while and ran up. That's a pretty crazy move. They are all coming back down now, just like everything else. And I'm sure they'll be red before we know it.
Alrighty. And then we have Vicky saying, Lulu, resistance and support, please. So LU, I know that it was popping up off of that earnings report. It has a pretty big support right at, I would say right at like 418 or so, and then another one right at 415. So those 2 levels, and then resistance, I guess you could say right around 430. Tom, do you see any other levels that I missed?
There might be a little bit of intraday resistance, like around 425. It looks like it's bounced off of there a couple times in the middle of the day sometimes. So I could see it moving on 425 too. But I agree mostly with you that 418 and 430 are going to be the larger levels to look at.
All right, and then Keisha said the retail stocks are green like TJX and TGT. So yeah, I know that good retail data came out, so that could help them a little bit. So like even if you look at LU, they're also up 1%. So that's good to know. And then Maine said thoughts on IRNT. Entered some calls yesterday, turned out pretty good. So the problem I have with this one is the implied volatility is 300%. So while the momentum is great and that's awesome, it's just like you're going to be paying so much for any option on this one. And it reminds me of SPRT from the other week. Like the implied volatility is 300%. And whether you played calls or puts, you most likely lost once the IV got this high. So it's like, I don't know. For me, I don't think it's worth it. But always trust your gut.
Yeah, and if you were going to play it, like Mike said, that IV is so high, it's going to cause those options prices to go crazy. But I'll tell you what, this stock moves a lot. Like you could make a lot just off of shares with this one. Like if you would have bought in at the $40 support this morning and we're even up to where we are now, you'd already be up 12%. And if we get up to those pre-market highs, you're talking about a 50% gain just on shares alone. So that's pretty crazy. If the shares are moving that much, no wonder the implied volatility is moving like that. But man, I would just look at playing shares instead of options on this one.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, and then we have R asking about Crowd. So CRWD, they're not really doing anything right now. They're like a solid stock, solid company. We could see that they had an awesome uptrend over like the past couple years, which is awesome to see. They just don't really have too much momentum right now, so there's not too many opportunities for a trade. There is a pretty big support right at 250 or so maybe if it retests that, it could be a good dip buy.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a pretty good dip buy too. And it looks like it's definitely bounced off of there quite a bit. So really watch it. But CrowdStrike has recently been around all-time highs. I would say it reminds me of like an Apple or something. Like it recently broke out and we're pulling back just a little bit now. And we are down here by support, but it's one of those situations where you have such a good company and it's just kind of pulling back with the overall market. And I have a feeling it'll move more of like with the QQQ.
All right. And then we have Keisha saying thoughts on TDUP. So this one just like lingering right around the $18 support. Not too much movement either way. Big resistance right at 30. Again, it just doesn't really have any momentum.
Yeah, and that support looks pretty good right around 18 and right around 1750. I feel like that's a pretty good bounce that we're having off of that level. And this is a pretty low price stock. It's definitely not going to move with the overall market. I really feel like that it could have some good moves over the next few days off of this support. This looks like some pretty good moves.
All right. And then we have, let's see, we have Sean saying, do you think volatility will continue today? Look at UVXY. So UVXY, it is up like 3% or so on the day, and I would assume so. But keep in mind the market is all over the place. But yeah, I would definitely assume so. Like you look at the SPY, and it's just like it's not that it's crashing. It's just like it's having trouble like rising continuously. So I would definitely expect volatility to continue.
Yeah, and for me, I like to explain it like it just keeps every morning, it just like slides off to the downside. And while we are getting these pops back up, it just continually just keeps going back down. And I'm really going to be eyeing up that 444 support. But man, I'm averaged into UVXY right around 2180. So I really hope it keeps going up, for my sake.
Yeah. And then we have Nye saying bottom and resistance for Palantir, please. So support and resistance for Palantir, it's up like almost 3% on the day. There's a big support right at like $27.37. Huge resistance right at 28. Those are the major levels right now. If it breaks above 28, I see a big resistance right at 30. And if it breaks below the support right at like 27.35 or so, right around that area, the next major support is right around 27 even.
Yeah, I could see that too. The 27 even's definitely a big level. And there's definitely a lot of momentum though today. I have a weird feeling that it's going to have a lot of problems falling off to the downside. But I have a weird. Do you feel like we'll be able to hold 27?
Sorry, your mic cut out for a second, but yeah, I would think so for sure.
Yeah, I got you. I was just saying that it had a lot of momentum today, and I was just saying if it does fall down, I don't think it'll fall down too much. Like I have a feeling we might not even be able to get back down to 27.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, and then we have Jorge saying DDOG has been super healthy though. So let's take a look. DDOG, yeah, they're up like almost 2% on the day. Awesome uptrend. They're so close to their all-time highs, and they've just been exploding over the past couple of years, and it looks pretty good. And I think it's awesome to see a nice move today while the market itself is kind of like shaky.
Yeah, that's a really good sign, and that's a great turn to the upside today. We're getting close to that 142 resistance, but man, this stock has been on fire. I really hope it keeps going, and I'll tell you, it looks pretty safe comparative to a lot of other stocks. There's a lot of other stocks with some crazy movement lately, and this one's been moving very well, actually.
All right, and the main said I bought RSI calls yesterday and sold them today morning. They went from 300 to 1,500, was scared to hold. Wow, that is crazy. Wow, that's awesome. So awesome job, Maine. Very happy to hear that. It's up like 8% on the day, so great job. And then R said Moderna, please. So Moderna's up 2% on the day. Honestly, this is not my favorite setup. I'm kind of biased to the downside a little bit on Moderna. And they also have a pretty big resistance right at 450. And then another one right at like 464.
Yeah, definitely. And you could see that they're kind of bouncing off that bottom support down here, like right around, let me get it up on the chart here, like right around 420. And then we're moving back up. So definitely watch for it. If it breaks 420, it could have a huge move down. And like Mike said, we've been really eyeing it up for puts lately, and it had a great opportunity on the daily chart a few weeks ago as it fell from highs of 500 all the way down to 350. So that's a big drop there. And that could definitely have more movement like that in the future.
All right, and then we have Laz saying, what do you guys think about Square and GS? Thanks, any target price. So while we don't have any specific target price, we can definitely highlight some important levels and, give an idea of the overall trend. Right now, Square has been downtrending for like the past month or so. I like them as a company, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they like retest like 220 or so.
Yeah, I would not be surprised either. There's a huge support down there, right around 200 to 220, like Mike said. That's going to be a big support level down there. The good news is it does look like it might pop up for the next few days, in my opinion. We are getting some more green movement to the upside, and it looks like we hit off of the 200 and the 100 SMA down here. So it doesn't look terrible maybe for the next few days, but I'm more with Mike. I could see it going down over the next few months and maybe hitting like 220 or something like that, and then going back up. But, keep in mind, they've had a lot of resistance up here around 280, and we've just gotten rejected off of it a lot. So it's going to be pretty hard to break that again.
Okay, and then Goldman, what do you think of GS?
GS, I feel like this is going to end up going down for a few months. It's unfortunate to say, but Goldman has been killing it. They're one of the best banks out there. I know their trading division has been on fire. I know that Mike and I have seen some crazy reports where, they end up making like billions of dollars in revenue over a given quarter just on their trading division alone, just making straight up profits in the market. So they're doing very well. It's just the thing is it seems like right now the overall banking sector is kind of falling off. We have JP Morgan kind of hitting off resistances here, having a lot of problems breaking out. We have Bank of America double topping up here around $43. Now we have Goldman really double topping up here at 420 and now falling below the 400 support. So I don't know. For me, I feel like we could just have a month or two of downtrends in the banks, and then I feel like we might start to do better after that. But just keep in mind for the next couple months, I could really see these going down. Like, look how overextended Goldman has been. We thought the SPY was crazy. Goldman's up 100% too.
Yeah, yeah. They are a powerhouse, but I'm with you. I could definitely see bank stocks falling off a little bit, and like I'm specifically looking at KRE. This is like a regional bank stock ETF, and I feel like this one can definitely fall off a little bit. So it's definitely on my radar. Also, I was looking at SNAP earlier today. They're down like 2% or so, so that one's just on my watch list.
What was that ticker, Mike?
SNAP, SNAP.
Oh, SNAP, sorry.
Yep, no problem. So I see a huge support right at $70 or so. What do you think with that one?
I think it looks pretty good off of 70. It's been holding it pretty well, and it's pretty hard to say. I feel like it could end up breaking this to the downside. You can see how they had a huge gap up a while ago. And, usually whenever stocks have gaps, they end up breaking them. In the past, though, Snapchat they gapped up and they didn't end up breaking it back down. But I don't know. There's a lot of selling pressure right now. And if we do see the tech industry continue to sell off like Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, if those start to go down over the next couple of weeks, I could really see Snapchat maybe falling below the 70 support. And this, like you said, Mike, that 70 support is so big right now. It's a huge level to watch for Snapchat. And if we do break below it, I think it'll make for a great put opportunity. I'll actually really be eyeing this one up, and I'm actually going to even set an alert. It's that good of a setup, I think, if it breaks that 70 support.
There we go. I love to see it. And then once you're done with that, you got to check out Palantir again. They're back above this $28 resistance, and they're running, Tom.
Yeah, PLTR. Look at them on the daily. They might get up towards $30 today, Mike. This is some great moves. We're already up $1, up 3.8%, like you said. That's a great break. And on the intraday chart, it's starting to break those highs of earlier. This is really good. Like you said, it looked like there was a pretty much like a possibility for straight up movement to $30. There's very minimal resistance between 28 and 30. So I think we could see a pretty good move up to 30. And even if it doesn't happen today, I feel like it could touch it tomorrow morning or something.
Good stuff. And then Jorge saying, what do you guys think we can expect from Penn? It should hold the 74 support nicely with the question mark. So It really depends on the market overall. I mean, assuming the market stays up, I would yet say yes. I would expect it to hold that 74 support. But, if the market tanks down like a lot of people are seeing, including myself, Penn is unlikely to hold that $74 support. Like the SPY right now is at 446. Like if the SPY went to 430, I'm sure Penn would probably at least go to like maybe like 68 or something like that at least. And it's just I don't know. I mean, it's not my favorite setup in the world for like this week or next week or anything like that. I really like it for a long-term play. It's just like right now, and given the current market, like it's just like it's just not the best setup in the world, but it is a good long-term play.
Yeah, and we're continuing to see these type of like these Vegas stocks just continuing to sell off too. Like we're seeing like LVS going down, and like MGM was even having a bad few days there. So I could just see that affecting like the whole industry. Penn is I know they're a little bit of a different entity than like Win or like LVS, but I feel like that they're still pretty affected by those types of moves. And I just feel like for the long term, Mike, I'm more with you. It'll be great for the long term, but in the short term, if the market comes down, it's like a lot of stocks are going to fall with the market. And even the stocks that we love, like, I mean, like Palantir might end up coming down with the market if it falls, or, like we could see tons of different stocks go down. Tesla, Neo, MasterCard, Visa, like you name it. If the market falls, it'll probably go down too, at least for those few initial first days.
All right, and then we had Maine saying, what do you guys think of UPST? I mean, this stock is so crazy, like, only God knows with this one. It was selling off big time last week, but, besides that, it's such a powerhouse, like, especially, like, over the past month or so, where I definitely would not bet against it, but at the same time, it just went from 120 up to, like, 300, so I'm not even gonna, play it to the upside either.
Yeah, that's really crazy, actually. I mean, that move to the upside could be nuts. I mean, if we end up breaking up above 300, but we're getting really close to that resistance again. And I'm more with you. I mean, it could be good for like a quick trade to the upside, like a quick day trade. But once once this starts to fall off to the downside, I mean, there's going to be no stopping it. Like we say, it takes the staircase up and the elevator down. And you can see in the past with Upstart, like they had huge moves from $83 all the way up to like 191. That's a nice, well over 100% gain there. Let's see what that was. Something like 110%, 120% gain. And then you can just see over the next like 4 trading days, they fell from 183 all the way down to like 125. So, it can definitely have those big moves to the downside too.
All right. Then we have Alex saying, how does oil stocks look today? So, Tom, what are you thinking with oil stocks?
Yeah, they're definitely pulling back today. You can see /CL, which is crude oil, is really pulling back too. And they had a great uptrend yesterday. And today they are pulling back a little bit. We'll have to see if we can hold that 71.50 support on crude oil or not. But there's a bigger support even down there at 71. So I feel like crude definitely has a chance to keep going up over the next couple days. But it had a very nice run up yesterday. So I guess I'm not too surprised to see it pulling back right now. But I know a lot of people were really bullish on crude yesterday, and it really pulled back this morning. So we're definitely going to have to watch out to see if it holds these supports or not. And like I said, that 71 support seems to be really, really strong on crude.
All right, and we have Keisha saying Zoom hit a major support from May this morning. So, yeah, poor Zoom has been getting smacked. They're down another 1.5%, and they're at 275 now.
Yeah, they are. It's a bad pullback and not looking good at all. And you look at it on the max daily and it's starting to look pretty bad, but we're down there right by that support. And I don't know, Mike, it's pretty scary right now. Like, I feel like we might keep going down. If we do, then we can just keep grabbing shares of Zoom lower. But I mean, I don't feel like Zoom's going to do too bad in the long run. It's just, I feel like in the short term, they're going to have a lot of adversity to kind of recover from. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But for the long term, if they end up going down, I mean, heck, if they go to 200, I'll be jumping up and down for joy, grabbing shares there.
Yeah, for sure. And then Hunter said, Zoom is enticing me for some cash secured puts soon. Yeah, it should be good because their options are pretty expensive overall. And Tom, I'm hearing a bunch of talk about Palantir. How's it looking?
PLTR still going. We're still at like 28.10, like where we were just a minute ago, but it's been having some great moves to the upside. We ended up hitting 28.25 or 28.24 and then move right back down. But man, it's a great move. I think I love it. Like I said earlier, though, if we don't hit 30 today, I feel like it definitely has a chance to do it tomorrow. Just be careful of the intraday pullbacks. Nothing goes straight up. You're always going to see little up and down moves, kind of like what we're seeing right now with these little red pullbacks. So just watch out. I could easily see it going up later today, or like I said, tomorrow up towards that $30 area. There's almost no resistance between here and there. And right now, it has so much momentum this morning, especially with other stocks doing so bad. Like everything on my watch list is just about red, except for Palantir, Upstart, and Moderna. Oh, and I can't forget Clover. But man, I mean, those three stocks are just on fire today.
For sure. All right. And then another one is ATVI. It looks like it's coming back up.
Yeah, this is actually really good to see. I know Activision, they're kind of like competing with EA right now with like their video games. I know that Call of Duty and Battlefield are both set to come out soon. And, ATVI is actually at a pretty good support at this $80 level. Doesn't look too bad. And Call of Duty comes out sometime, I think, at the beginning of October or like the beginning of November. So really watch out. I feel like it could have a good move back up with that. And you can see last October, November, they were dipping down the exact same way that they're dipping down now. And then as soon as that video game came out, they exploded to the upside, moving from 76 all the way up to 104. So really watch out for that again. But if the video game goes bad, they could end up going down. So there's definitely two sides of the story here, but definitely look out because that video game is coming out and it will probably make their stock move over the next couple months.
And then, Tom, like Microsoft, they had an awesome gap up the other day on news that they are increasing their dividend, and they also have, what was it, like a $50 or $60 billion share buyback. But you look at the chart, and they're like giving back all their gains.
Man, they are going down off that 305 resistance, and that resistance is very big, Mike. I mean, we've hit off of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 times over the past couple weeks. It's just insane. Definitely watch for 305. It's going to be very hard to break through that to the upside. And like you said, there's been a lot of good news, but we're still seeing selling pressure come into Microsoft. And, I don't know if that has to do with Microsoft being at all-time highs or if it has to do with the market going down right now or what. But either way, I think it's bad news for Microsoft. And with that news we had yesterday, you would have really expected maybe a breakout to all-time highs or something. But hey, it's going down, and I feel like Microsoft might continue down for the next couple of weeks. Like this rejection is pretty strong at 305, and really watch for it. If we break out above it, then just cut your puts or something. But I feel like right now is a pretty good way to go for puts, or at least on Microsoft. It looks like we could have a few down days from here.
All right, and then Vicky said not even excellent retail job data. Retail data job claims are helping the market in September. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely been rough, Vicky. The market's been struggling a lot. And, I think it's as simple as just people like de-risking themselves and taking profits. And I really don't blame them. With the market as high as it is, plus with September normally being the worst month, plus just with everything else going on in the world right now, like I think it's a smart idea to have some hedges in place.
Yeah, I do too. And, it's just it gets to that point at some time where, of course, everybody wants the market to go up. And, you have all these analysts who have like all their long-term shares, and, people who run funds are out there and they're all talking about how the stock market should be at all-time highs and everything. But in reality, we've been at all-time highs for a long time, and, we've been running up, and at some point you just have to expect a pullback, and we're just kind of at that area right now. And the SPY is starting to near that 444 support. And if we break that, I mean, man, I could really see it falling.
Good stuff. Give me 1 second. So yeah, that's good. And then I'm just doing a quick scan real quick. It looks like Macy's is really running today. It's up like 5%, and I'm sure that the retail data is probably helping that out. I know that like other retail stocks like Target and TJX were running, but looks like Macy's is the leader.
Man, this stock does not look bad, actually. They've been on a great recovery ever since that COVID low of like $4.38. I mean, wow, that's a great move back. They're at that resistance right around $23 to $24, and really watch for this one. I feel like it could have a pretty decent move back up, and it bounced off that 20 support. You can see on my daily chart, we actually recently broke above that 1000 SMA after getting rejected off of it like 6 or 7 times before we finally moved off of it. So I don't know. It looks like a pretty good setup, Mike. And with this retail data coming out and being pretty good, hopefully Macy's goes up. And one thing that I'm really looking at is their earnings. They have better earnings right now at a 1.29 EPS than they had before COVID even happened. So, they're doing pretty good.
There we go. And then we have James saying Macy's and KSS is having a good morning. Any levels for resistance? So what are you seeing with these ones?
KSS has a huge support at 50 and a big resistance up there right at $60. I would really look for 60 on KSS. I'm actually going to add it onto my chart there right at $60 so we can eye it up in the future. But what was the other ticker again?
Macy's.
Macy's, that's right. I couldn't remember. It was M. So yeah, looking at it, I would just definitely make Macy's break out above the 24 resistance. We're definitely seeing a lot of resistance right there. And there's a big support on Macy's at $20. So honestly, they're both at really good levels right now. If you like them for the long term, it is scary because of how they fell with COVID, but they have been on a great recovery. And it's almost like it reminds me of a play kind of like Ford. Ford had a terrible move down with COVID and they've just been recovering up very, very nicely. And it's just one of those things, like, of course, like you're buying in right now after they recovered like 200%, but these retail stocks and some of these stocks like Ford just got destroyed with COVID. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but I feel like they'll end up going up in the long term.
There we go. And then Spacely said, plus 120% with my Palantir call. I'm cashing out and going back to sleep. Well, there we go, Spacely. It sounds like a great morning for you. Good stuff there. Jorge said BMY is falling hard. Great call out, Jorge. I was actually just looking at this one. BMY and MRK have just been tanking. This one, I think these two will be pretty good for some short puts soon, but not yet. Same thing with Atvi. I actually probably like Atvi a little bit more because they're a little bit more of a better company in my opinion, and they have those pretty high dividends.
Yeah, and I'm glad they're falling down now because it'll, like you said, it'll make for some pretty good opportunities. And like you said, ABBV is one of the better dividend stocks out there. They have a pretty high dividend for their share price, and overall, they've been a pretty good stock for the past 5 years, ever since that low around like 2018. I guess you could say around 3 years, but it's had pretty good movement back up, and we did just hit that 120 resistance. So look out for more downward movement. Like Mike said, selling puts is going to be a really good way to go soon.
Here we go. And then Wasim said, BBIG, please. So this one is up like 3.5% on the day. What are you thinking?
It's bouncing back up. It's hitting that $8 support. And we've been consolidating here for like 3 or 4 days. And I don't know, we're hitting that 1000 SMA. It looks like we could possibly get another bounce back up with BBIG, Mike. I mean, we're bouncing right off support. We're on that SMA. We have a lot of momentum coming in today. The market's going down and this stock's up. So it seems like a pretty good setup. And I feel like it could keep going. There's a big resistance at like $9. But if we break that, I think we could have a pretty good move up. And, BBIG had a lot of momentum a couple weeks ago as we were hitting like $11. And, we were really running up on that short squeeze kind of hype. But I don't know. Right now, I feel like we could end up going up, especially with the market going down. Like some traders might be hopping into this.
There we go. So, Tom, do you have any last-minute stocks, options, or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
I'm still eyeing up stocks like BLNK, CHPT, stocks like that. I feel like they could have some really good moves over the next couple weeks. And whenever that infrastructure bill starts to get passed, I think that's when these stocks will do a little bit better. I'm also eyeing up some of these chip stocks like QCOM. QCOM's had a pretty bad past couple days to the downside. It's going to make for selling puts. I think selling puts will be pretty good pretty soon on this one anyways. And then when I look at MU, they're pretty good for selling puts too if they start to fall down towards $70. And then we even have a huge stock out, AMD, starting to fall down towards that $100 support. We have NVIDIA falling down too, but INTC I feel like is starting to get at good levels again. If they start to fall, I think selling puts here will be a good way to go too. But overall, it just seems like that the tech sector is starting to come off or starting to fall to the downside. And I'm really going to be eyeing up puts on these tech stocks, but it's going to create some great long-term opportunities.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. The market's going crazy, so definitely be prepared for some more volatility. But other than that, have an amazing rest of your day.